Welcome to Ingles con Juan, the channel where English becomes real, because real English is not a perfect worksheet. It's the moment you need to understand fast information, make a decision, and stay calm while your brain is still translating. Here you'll train your listening with stories that feel like real life, not like a scripted classroom dialogue. If you want to improve your English step by step, hit like, subscribe to Ingles con Juan, and let's start today's story. Her name is Lucieters. She's not a beginner. She has watched series in English. She has finished grammar books. She can write emails, understand slow podcasts, and even hold conversations when people speak carefully. But airports don't speak carefully. Airports speak fast, loud, and without compassion. Lucia stands under the departures board, holding her passport, boarding pass, and a phone with 4% battery. Her flight is scheduled for 7:30 a.m. Gate C18. She repeats it in her head like a protective spell. Gate C18. 7:30 C18. She learned a long time ago that anxiety makes listening worse. When the body panics, the ears don't focus. They scan for danger. So she tries a simple technique. One slow breath in, one slow breath out. Then she looks at the screen again, as if reading the information can make it safer. The first announcement arrives without warning. The speaker crackles, and a voice begins speaking quickly. Connected words melting into each other. Lucia catches pieces. A flight number, a city name, something about a gate. She freezes for a second, then forces her brain to do what real listening requires. Ignore perfection, focus on meaning. She tells herself the first rule of real English listening. You don't need to understand everything. You need to understand what matters. At an airport, what matters is always the same: flight number, time, gate, and action. So she stops trying to decode every word. She listens for the anchors, numbers, letters, the word gate, the word boarding, the words final call. Those words are not advanced vocabulary, but they decide your future in the next 5 minutes. Another announcement comes. This time, Lucia hears something that makes her stomach drop: her flight number. She doesn't hear C18. She hears something like C18 or C18. Or maybe D18. The sound is too similar. The noise around her is too loud. Her heart tries to panic again, but she interrupts it with a calmer thought. Confusion is normal. Confusion is not failure. Confusion is the beginning of real learning. She walks closer to the departure screen. The board updates. Her flight is still there, but now it shows a delay. Not huge, 15 minutes. Then a message appears. Gate change. Lucia feels the old story in her head trying to take control. I studied for years and still can't understand one simple announcement. But she has learned something important about language growth. The story you tell yourself is either a cage or a tool. Today, she chooses a tool. She switches the story. I'm not failing. I'm training. This is my listening workout. She looks around for an information desk. She finds one and approaches, already preparing a sentence she practiced for moments exactly like this. Not a fancy sentence, not a perfect sentence, a functional sentence. She speaks clearly and politely. She asks for confirmation about her flight's gate and boarding time. She does not apologize for her English. She does not explain her entire life story. She keeps it simple. The staff member responds quickly, with the relaxed speed of someone who lives in airports. Lucia catches only part of it. In the past, she would have smiled and pretended she understood, then walked away with confusion. That habit is common, and it destroys progress. Today, she does something braver. She asks the person to repeat the key information slowly. Not everything's just the key part: gate and time. The staff member repeats it more clearly. Lucia writes it down immediately. Gate, C06. Boarding at 7:10. Writing it down changes everything. Listening is not only an ear skill, it's a memory skill. It's a memory skill. When the brain is under stress, it forgets faster. A simple note turns sound into certainty. Lucia walks toward gate C06. The airport feels like a maze. But she follows signs, checks, screens, and keeps her eyes open for the number. Halfway there, another announcement begins. Again, it's fast. Again, it's unclear. But now, Lucia has a system. She listens for anchors. She listens for her flight number. She listens for the word gate. She is no longer trying to understand English like a student. She is using English like a traveler. At gate CO6, she sees a crowd. She sees the flight number on a screen. She feels relief until the screen updates again, delayed. Then, seconds later, gate change. For a moment, Lucia laughs quietly, not because it's funny, but because it's so perfectly real. Real life doesn't wait for your listening level. It just keeps happening. She checks her phone. 2% battery. She cannot depend on translation apps. She cannot depend on perfect subtitles. She can only depend on the skills she's building right now, calm, focus, and the courage to ask. She approaches the gate area, and she hears another announcement. This time she catches more. Not all, but more. She hears her flight number again. She hears now departing from and then a gate code that sounds like B something. She watches other passengers. They start moving. That's another listening trick. Use context. Language is not only sound, it's behavior. Lucia follows the flow, but she doesn't follow blindly. She finds a staff member again and asks to confirm the gate. The staff member points and repeats the gate letter and number. Lucia repeats it back to confirm she heard correctly. That repetition is powerful. It turns passive listening into active listening. She arrives at the new gate B14. The screen matches. She sits down and finally feels her body relax. But something else is happening too. Her mind is learning. Not in the abstract way of memorizing rules, but in the real way through survival, repetition, and emotion. Lucia notices something. The announcements are still fast, but they feel less terrifying now. The sounds are not random anymore. They have patterns. She starts recognizing typical airport phrasing, boarding groups, final calls, last names, and polite warnings about luggage and passports. She realizes that airports repeat the same information in different ways. That repetition is a gift for learners. If you stay present instead of panicking while she waits, Lucia reflects on the honest truth about learning English. Years of study can still leave gaps. Not because the study was useless, but because classroom English is controlled. Real English is messy, spoken by tired people through bad speakers with background noise and with no pause button. This is why listening practice matters. Not just listening to slow, perfect recordings, but listening to imperfect, realistic English where you must catch the main idea and act on it. Boarding begins. Lucia hears her group called. She stands in line, passport in hand, and feels a quiet pride. Not because she understood every word, but because she stayed in English. She didn't run away mentally. She didn't hide behind silence. She used strategies, asked for repetition, confirmed details, wrote notes, and made it to the correct gate. And here is the biggest lesson of the day. Confidence doesn't come after you become fluent. Confidence comes before fluency because confidence is what makes you practice. If you're watching and you've ever felt that airport panic like your English disappears when the stakes are real, this is the moment to choose progress over perfection. Give this video a like if it helps you. Subscribe to Ingles Juan if you want more listening stories that prepare you for real situations. Lucia finally scans her boarding pass and steps onto the plane. She finds her seat, places her bag under the chair, and exhales. The airport didn't become easier. Her English became stronger. And tomorrow, when she practices listening again, podcasts, videos, stories, she won't be practicing for a test. She'll be practicing for life. Because real English is not a subject. It's a tool. And every confusing announcement you survive becomes proof that you are improving.